Okay, guys, so last time we introduced the tropical cyclone and we went through the stages of formation of a tropical cyclone. We even talked about the conditions that are required for a tropical cyclone to form and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we observed is that we have got a left-hand quadrant or a dangerous semicircle, which is just a region that is found on a tropical cyclone. And this region that is found on a tropical cyclone, it is found right here. You can see this is found right here at the what? At the left-hand side of the what? Of the tropical cyclone, of the low pressure system, which is the tropical cyclone. Now, I gave you a task, guys, to do what? To do some research and tell me how does this region develop? This region that is known as the dangerous semicircle, or it is otherwise known as the left-hand quadrant. How does this region develop? Because what we know is that this region has got the most intense weather. We know that this region in a mid-latitude cyclone that I'm highlighting in yellow, it destroys a lot of buildings. It has got intense weather conditions. Talk about strong winds, talk about heavy rainfall, talk about all of those intense weather conditions. Now, my question was for the homework, how does it form? Explain the formation of this dangerous semicircle. And then secondly, why does it have intense weather conditions? Okay, so let's hear from you guys. What did you guys find?
So,
Yes, Sam.
what's the information engitholile ukuthi how the quadrant forms? It
Yes.
says the eastern path it splits into two, which
What?
is the front right and the.
So may you please just restart a bit, yeah? Sorry.
I found that which into the quadrant, the left quadrant, it formed kanji occurs because of the motion of the storms and adds to the rotational wind speed on the side, making winds and storm stronger and more destructive. Yeah, in that region, sir.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's correct indeed. But now the question is, do you understand what does that mean, or you just copied the statement?
Well, sir, ngiyekubona ukuthi yila ngikhona ukuthola khona, but kahle kahle I'm not quite sure, sir. 50% sure, 50% not sure, sir.
What are you sure about on that statement? What can you explain from that statement? What actually happens? What actually causes this dangerous semicircle to form? Why does it have these intense weather conditions?
I think so it's because of la yenzeka khona it like ine-access eningi, therefore into the dangerous semi-cycle is usually lifted yabo, sir. So I think yeah, ingakho iyenza i-weather ibe more complicated or weird.
Okay, that's something. Okay, so guys, do you still remember when we said the winds that drive tropical cyclones? What are the names of the winds that drive tropical cyclones? The winds that causes the tropical cyclone to move towards the west, or that causes the tropical cyclone to move westwards. What are those winds? Yes, Empo.
So the easterlies.
Yes, it is the tropical easterlies. So basically, the tropical easterlies are winds that are directed in this way, that are found in between the 0 and the 30 degrees line of latitude. We said last time the tropical easterlies are the ones that actually move in this direction, actually pushing this tropical cyclone to be able to move in that direction. So to be able to to move towards the west, basically. So basically, you can see that here we are having these winds, which are our tropical easterlies. These are our winds which drive the tropical cyclone. These are the winds that actually cause the tropical cyclone to do what? To move, right? And then We also have got the winds within the tropical cyclone that are rotating, because guys, remember that within the tropical cyclone we have got a clockwise rotation of this air. So the air inside the tropical cyclone, or the winds inside the tropical cyclone, they are rotating in a clockwise direction. Do you guys see that? Can you guys hear me? What it
Yes, sir.
like?
I can see
Yes,
it.
so you guys should respond. So we have got tropical easterlies, which are the winds that are moving in this direction, that are pushing this tropical cyclone to move from east to west, or that are actually pushing the tropical cyclone to move westwards. So we also have got the other winds, which are circulating within the cyclone, which are rotating basically within the cyclone. So these winds that are rotating within the cyclone, these clockwise rotation winds within the cyclone, they can meet, or they actually collide with the what, with these other winds, which are the tropical easterlies. And when they collide, they actually collide into the left hand quadrant, or they actually collide into the dangerous semicircle. So as these winds, let's just say these are tropical easterlies, they kind of collide with the what, with the winds that are rotating within the tropical cyclone. That is what causes this intense weather conditions at the dangerous semicircle. So basically, when you explain it, you have to mention that for us to end up having this yellow highlighted region that has got the most intense weather condition, for us to develop that, we know that we've got winds that are rotating within the cyclone, these red winds that are rotating clockwise, and we also have got the winds that are driving the cyclone, which are the tropical easterlies. So these winds actually collide, and where do they collide? They collide in this region, which is known as the dangerous semicircle. Although my diagrams are not drawn to scale, but I'm trying to make an illustration to show you guys that these winds that are rotating clockwise within this low pressure system, within this tropical cyclone, the moment they collide with these winds that are driving the cyclone, which are the tropical easterlies, what happens? We form this a specific place, or a specific region known as the dangerous semicircle, otherwise known as the left hand quadrant. It has got the most intense weather conditions, the most intense weather conditions, especially the winds, the winds at this point, the winds at the dangerous semicircle, they are the highest. Okay, so there's a lot of strong winds here at the dangerous semicircle. It is because we're having two winds that are colliding. Guys, imagine we've got air that is rotating quickly within the cyclone. We have got air that is moving the cyclone, that is pushing the cyclone. So when this collides, it's like we are adding the effect of that air. That's why we end up having like strong, very strong winds, which we say they are gale force winds. So when you explain the formation of a dangerous semicircle, you talk about two things here. The first, you say that the winds that are rotating, or that are circulating in the cyclone. So you talk about the winds that are rotating within the cyclone. Remember, these are rotating in a clockwise direction, that are rotating within the cyclone. So these winds that are rotating within the cyclone, what do? They actually meet. They meet with the winds that are driving the cyclone, or you can say that they collide. Okay, so these winds that are rotating within the cyclone, they collide with, you can say they collide with the tropical easterlies, or you can just say they collide with the winds driving the cyclone. They collide with the winds driving driving the cyclone. So basically, we are trying to say that these winds that I've drawn using these red, these maroon arrows, these are the winds rotating within the cyclone. They collide, or they meet with what? they meet with the winds that are driving the cyclone. The winds that are driving the cyclone are the tropical easterlies. So these tropical easterlies, remember that they are spiraling into this low pressure system because of the Coriolis force, right? So basically, as these winds are being drawn into the pressure system, into the low pressure system, they will meet with these other winds that are rotating. So this blue wind and this red wind, when it meets with each other, it creates a lot of intense weather condition. Particularly, it is strong winds, basically. Okay, so they actually meet with the winds driving the cyclone forward into I don't want to make it a paragraph, but it's fine. You can just say forward into the left hand quadrant, into the left hand quadrant. And then when that happens, of course, this will result in gale force winds. This will resulting in gale force winds. Gale force winds. So it simply means that here we're having the winds that are moving, and we're having the winds that are driving the cyclone forward, which are the tropical easterlies, and then we are having the winds that are rotating or that are circulating within the cyclone, which are these winds that are rotating inside in a low pressure system, or these winds in this tropical cyclone. They collide and they meet with these tropical easterlies. They meet into this left hand quadrant. This actually causes the winds to be even more stronger because we are combining two winds here, the tropical easterlies and the winds that are rotating into the cyclone, inside the cyclone. Do you guys kind of get why the left hand quadrant is dangerous? Why does it have strong winds? Do you get it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so that's how you explain it. It's usually 3 marks to explain this the formation of the dangerous semicircle or the left hand quadrant. You can just say the dangerous semicircle or the left hand quadrant. Okay, so nonetheless, yes, Sam.
Let's say maybe the quadrant by Segulingi side, maybe they say right quadrant, yeah, the right quadrant. Katabache, show how does it form. Meaning Mbappe the same points.
No. The quadrant can never be anywhere else. The quadrant is always at the left hand because the winds will always collide at the left hand. They will never collide at any other place. Actually, that is why we only have a left hand quadrant. We don't have a right hand quadrant. So for a tropical cyclone, always the winds are colliding at the left hand quadrant. That is why we have strong weather conditions there. We can never wake up and we find our quadrant being this side because the winds don't actually collide at that point. Yes, Bandisile?
Sir, I wanted to ask if in the question paper, how will they ask me the question? Or they will always ask it like this?
Usually they ask it in this way. They can give you just a letter representing this place. Maybe they can just say this is a region Q, okay? If they just say this is a region Q and they say explain the formation of the region Q, you have to just explain that the region Q is a dangerous semicircle or it's a left-hand quadrant, okay? So when you explain its formation, you just explain what we're having winds that are circulating within the cyclone. We are also having winds that are driving the cyclone. These winds collide into this semicircle, into this left-hand quadrant, resulting in gale force winds. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Nova.
If may I ask, okay, is it the shaded part in a warm condition?
Is the what?
In a warm weather condition. Is part in a warm weather condition.
Or does this happen in a warm weather condition?
Yeah, usually share it part because ngibona lama line are close apart.
No, not really. No, okay, not very generally. We know that for a tropical cyclone to form, it must be in a warm ocean. So that's general. That's general. That doesn't really have to do anything with the lines per se. But generally, a tropical cyclone needs a warm ocean. It needs a summer, so it needs warm, moist air as well. So we can never have a tropical cyclone in the first place if we didn't have warm weather conditions. But they will never ask anything like that. Based on this left-hand quadrant.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So this is just the left-hand quadrant or the dangerous semicircle. Yeah, that's all about it. The other information that you need to know about tropical cyclones, guys, which we might not have mentioned last time because we just were giving an introduction. Okay, so basically you guys often hear that tropical cyclones have names. For example, we once were attacked by tropical cyclone Anna. We once had tropical cyclone Gezani. This year we have tropical cyclone Gezani currently affecting. Right now it has landed in Mozambique already. That's tropical cyclone Gezani. This year at the current week, in fact, actually yesterday it was landing in Mozambique, in a part of Mozambique. Okay, so that's a tropical cyclone Gezani. We had this tropical cyclone, which was tropical cyclone Idai, which came out in the news. I don't know if you guys were watching news back then, but basically tropical cyclones have got names. Okay, we give them names as human beings. And why do we give tropical cyclones name? We give them names based on the fact of how many tropical cyclones have attacked that area. So basically, for us to give a name of a tropical cyclone, the first letter of the name of the tropical cyclone, it indicates how many cyclones have attacked that area in an alphabetical order. So for example, if we give a tropical cyclone a name that starts with A, let me just say the tropical cyclone, I give it the name Anele. If I say this is a tropical cyclone Anele, it means that this is the first tropical cyclone to attack the area because A is the first letter of the alphabet. So I can say that this is the first tropical cyclone to affect the area or to attack the area. If I say that I have got tropical cyclone Bandile, let's just give it a name and say that tropical cyclone Bandile is attacking the north of KZN. The first letter of the name is B. This Bandile, this B is the first letter of the name. This tells us that this tropical cyclone, it is the second tropical cyclone to affect the area. Say you just go with alphabetic order and so forth and so on and so on and so on. So do you guys kind of see that it's not difficult to name tropical cyclones? Is it difficult, guys? Yes, Sam?
No.
So, sir, most of the time, tropical cyclone are seasonal.
They only happen in summer, late summer. They only happen in late summer. At this, like right now, is late summer. That's when tropical cyclone happens. They cannot happen during any other season. So yeah, you can say that they are seasonal to a certain context. Yeah, they are seasonal. They only attack during late summer. Are we clear, guys?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so these are the examples that I gave you here. There was a tropical cyclone which was known as Batsirai. Batsirai attacked Madagascar. So Batsirai actually attacked Madagascar. I'm not sure when, but I think it's 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So Batsirai attacked Madagascar. So it means that Batsirai was the second cyclone to attack Madagascar. By the time it was attacking, it was the second cyclone. Tropical cyclone Anna attacked Mozambique. I don't know when Anna attacked, but it's definitely before 2023. So the tropical cyclone Anna was actually the first tropical cyclone to attack Mozambique. These are just examples, guys. You can go into the newspapers and try to see which one came first before the other one. This is tropical cyclone Gezani for this year. Tropical cyclone Gezani, not for this year, to be specific, for this day in time. Right now, it is affecting us in KZN in 2026. On the 15th of February, at the present moment, people are crying because of tropical cyclone Gezani right now. Okay, so this G, which is the first letter of the name Gezani, tells us that this is the 7th tropical cyclone to attack KZN, because this G is the 7th letter in the alphabet. Yes, Sam.
So say, actually you name them alphabetical. Actually it happens. Afia was Z, say. Therefore, more to name from Z. Are you going to start again from O A? No.
Well, well, we haven't reached Z so far. We have never had a whole 26 tropical cyclones, because an alphabet has got 26 letters. Okay, we have not yet reached 26 tropical cyclones attacking the same area ever since human existence so far. So we don't know what will happen when we have got more than the alphabets, the letters of the alphabet. What are we gonna name it as? Probably we're gonna have a new naming convention. Okay, but nonetheless, guys, we need to also look at the second point. The tropical cyclone, it has got an erratic path, otherwise known as an irregular path. So it's an erratic path. So basically, a tropical cyclone, the people that do meteorology, meteorologists, we've got meteorologists, those people that some of them, they interpret the weather. Some of the people, they actually model the path of a tropical cyclone before it affects. Because basically, guys, when we have an alert from the news that a tropical cyclone is coming, this report is coming from people who are like specialists, specialists who actually analyze the path of the tropical cyclone, where the tropical cyclone it will move, where is it expected to move. Okay, so basically we can actually plot a path of a tropical cyclone, just like in this diagram. This is the tropical cyclone Gezani that is currently affecting us here, and this is a report from yesterday. This is actually a picture from yesterday from the World Meteorological Organization news. So this line, you can see this path, guys. Can you all see the path of the tropical cyclone? This line that is drawn out here, this one, do you see it?
Yes.
Yes, so it shows us that our tropical cyclone started here and it continued and continued and continued and continued. It enters Madagascar, because now this is Madagascar. You can see that this is Madagascar. So now it enters Madagascar, it passes Madagascar, through Madagascar, and then it passes out of Madagascar. It is now going towards Mozambique, but it didn't really reach Mozambique that much this time. Instead, it actually came here. Do you see Swaziland there, guys? Do you see Swaziland? Or is my quality low? Can you see Swaziland from the diagram?
Yes, sir.
Yes, there's Swaziland here. So it almost reached Swaziland. The effect of this tropical cyclone almost reached Swaziland, but it looks like it actually deflected. By the way, it looks like it actually deflected and started moving in this direction, and currently this is where the cyclone is at currently. Okay, we don't know what will happen to it next time, but currently it is here, the tropical cyclone, right now in the daytime. But us as people living in KZN, we are living somewhere here. This is where we are in KZN. This is like we are already kind of feeling the effects of this tropical cyclone, such as a rainfall and quite a couple of strong winds. So basically, a tropical cyclone, it can have a certain path that shows that this is the way the tropical cyclone will move. But generally, the general movement, the general direction of movement is towards the west. But the path is not really straight as it seems, because you guys would assume what the tropical cyclone will move in a straight line towards the west. No, it doesn't move like it's on a road or something like that. Instead, it has got an erratic path. It doesn't have a definite path. You will find out that maybe another tropical cyclone maybe will hit next time, and it will start moving like this in another indefinite path. So we just got just an irregular in an irregular path. We don't actually have a certain path that's like a straight line where this tropical cyclone will be moving from east to west. Yes, it is moving from east to west if you observe carefully, because remember guys that east is here and then west is here. So generally if it started here, it's kind of, it is at the eastern part and it is moving towards the what, towards the west, but it doesn't really move in a straight line. Okay, instead it follows an erratic path. We usually say that the path of a what, the path of the path of a tropical cyclone is an erratic one. The erratic simply means that it is irregular. It is not really a straight path. Why is that? That is what you need to know how to explain as a grade 12 learner. Why is the path of a tropical cyclone an erratic one? It is because the tropical cyclone actually moves wherever moisture is present. Remember guys that one of the requirements that we said we need for a tropical cyclone to form, it is some warm moist air. Okay, so basically the warm moist air, it is the one that rises and it condenses and it releases some latent heat which will give the energy to the tropical cyclone. So if it happens that my tropical cyclone starts here at this point, let me just call it point A, right? And then it happens that it now needs to move. My tropical cyclone cannot just start, it needs to start moving because there are easterlies that are pushing it or that are driving it. Okay, so it started at this point A because there's a lot of moisture, there's a lot of warm moist air in it. Okay, now if it happens that the next point that has got moisture, it is here. Okay, let's just say this green spot. Do you see guys this green point which is B? Can you see it guys? Yes, so this green point, let me just say there's a lot of moisture. It is a moist place, means that there's just some warm moist air. And then let's just say the other point that has got a lot of moisture, it is this point that I'm highlighting in orange. Call it point C. It has got a lot of moisture. So my tropical cyclone, yes, it is supposed to move from east to west. Okay, it is supposed to move westwards, but it doesn't just move in a straight line. It follows the place that has got some moisture because the moisture gives it energy. Remember guys that when the moisture rises, it will condense and it will release latent heat. That latent heat, it is the one that is required to give energy to the tropical cyclone. So when the tropical cyclone moves from point A, it will go straight to point B. Why does it go to point B? It is because it's a place that has got a certain moisture. And from point B, it will go to point C because that's the next place that has got a lot of moisture. Okay, so basically the path will not be a definite shape because it can happen that the moisture will be here next time. Now the tropical cyclone is to move like this. Maybe the moisture next time it will be here. Now the tropical cyclone is to move like this. So the path is not really known per se. We can only predict using our machinery and our satellite imaging, but the path is irregular, it is erratic. What's your question, Zeno?
I need to ask you if the moisture B was down a little bit, was the cyclone from A was going to go down to B then up to C?
Yes, it would do that. It would do that. It can do that. It can actually move in reverse sometimes. Just like tropical cyclone Gezani, guys. Do you look at the path carefully here? The path of the tropical cyclone that is affecting us right now. The path that we have, it shows that this is our tropical, this is the path, okay? It goes through Madagascar, out of Madagascar, and then it kind of shoves through Swaziland and it reverses back again. Look at it. Do you see the path that I'm highlighting, guys? This is the path of the tropical cyclone. Do you see that it can also take a bit of a reverse because it is kind of following the moisture?
Sorry, say, I will have a bit of a questions because I'm a bit confused. Okay, when we see the first letter of the cyclone, okay, now there is G, Gizani, the letter G, KZN, ne?
Yes.
Does that now mean that that cyclone will it end? Will it end at a certain point and then a new letter starts?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So G, it is telling, okay, G, it is the 7th letter in the alphabet, right? So this means that Gezani is actually the 7th tropical cyclone to attack KZN. Okay, so that G is telling us that, because remember, if we say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we count 7 letters in total. So if G is the 7th letter and the name of our tropical cyclone is starting with G, it tells us that our tropical cyclone, it is the 7th one to attack. That tropical cyclone will eventually dissipate, it will eventually decay. It won't last for long because the moisture will not last for long, okay? So it won't last for long, it will die off, and when it dies off, we will wait for a new tropical cyclone to come next year. If another tropical cyclone comes next year, we will move from letter G to a letter H in an alphabetical order. Is that clear now? Are we clear, Sinawe? Sinawe in? Are we clear?
I am clear, sir. I'm clear.
Okay, awesome. Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Edu-ca-te is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
You said a tropical cyclone moves where more moisture is present.
Yes.
So yabona lapha imidla cyclone imuva ku Madagascar yayibona lapha ku continent layer enye before iphuma ngithi.
A tropical cyclone, yeah.
Yeah. Say angithi siyazi when kahle uthe kuland kahle there's less moisture. Abo kuma oceans kune moisture eningi. So why into eyikhoze ukuthi yona decide ukuthi no man yona mina ngifuna ukudlula la kwi-land athi ngadluli ngapha kwi-ocean. Why decide ukuthi indlule la instead of ukuthi.
Nice question. All right, yes. Okay, so let me just humusha for you to take it to English, of course. So basically, Trevor is asking, Guti, since we say that when a tropical cyclone gets to the land has got less moisture and the land has got more friction as well. How was this tropical cyclone able to get inside Madagascar and move out of Madagascar? Okay, let's just explain it in simple terms. For simplicity purposes. So basically, Lana, you need to remember, guys, that when the tropical cyclone gets onto the land, there is less moisture, or we can say that there is dry air on the land. Okay, the air is dry, the air is not moist enough. But the tropical cyclone, it gets weak. It gets weak, and it gets weak, and it gets weak. Okay, before it can decay. So the decay process, when you're saying that a tropical cyclone is decaying, it doesn't mean that it will happen instantly when it gets onto the land. So when the tropical cyclone gets onto the land, it will start slowing down first. Okay, so when a tropical cyclone gets onto the land, it will start to become slow. When it moves, it will not move as fast. The wind speeds are going to be lower as well. Okay, so it gets into the land and it starts slowing down. But the moment it comes out of the land again, it will regain its strength, because when it goes back to the ocean, the ocean has got now more moisture. So when you say that a tropical cyclone, it decays when it comes to the land, it doesn't necessarily mean that the moment it reaches this first piece of land, it will decay immediately. No. Okay, but it will start slowing down. You will only find out before the tropical cyclone entered, it had wind speeds up to maybe, let's just say the wind speed was 180 kilometers. Let me just write with the red pen here. So before it entered the land, let's just say the wind speed, it was 180 kilometers an hour. But when it gets into the land, those winds will start slowing down because it is kind of decaying. It's decaying kancane kancane, okay? So from 180 kilometers an hour, you'll only find out that how now your tropical cyclone is now moving at 100 kilometers an hour. It is now slowing down because of the friction on the land. And then when it continues into the land, it will slow down even more from 100 maybe to 50 kilometers an hour. But because Madagascar is a small island, guys, this tropical cyclone will eventually get out of the land and get to the ocean. So the moment it goes back to the ocean again, it will regain its energy because the ocean has got moisture, which produces latent heat when it condenses. So you only find out that the moment it exits the land, it will start gaining the wind speeds back again to 180 kilometers an hour. So basically, your tropical cyclone, when it enters the land, it will start slowing down, okay, and it will continue slowing down and slowing down. But because Madagascar is just an island, it's not really a very big piece of land, guys. Madagascar is just a what? It's an island. It's just a piece of land found on the Indian Ocean. All right. So basically, when the tropical cyclone enters, it has got a lot of strength because it's coming from the what? From the ocean. It has got a lot of strength. The wind speeds are so high. It's like up to 180 kilometers an hour. But the moment it gets into the land, because of the friction in the land, what does it do? It starts slowing down, meaning that the winds of the tropical cyclone will start dropping the wind speeds, for example, from 180 kilometers to 100 kilometers, and it continues into the land. It is still experiencing friction, okay, and now it drops to about 50 kilometers an hour. The wind speeds continue dropping because the cyclone is becoming weaker. The land has enough moisture, but the moment it gets out, immediately when it gets into the ocean, it will regain the strength again. So for Madagascar, the Madagascar will always be attacked by a tropical cyclone because the land is small to be able to stop the tropical cyclone. But if the tropical cyclone was to reach South Africa, maybe reach a if it was to reach South Africa, let's just say the tropical cyclone reaches here in South Africa. The moment it starts continuing moving onto the land, it will slow down until it decays immediately because there's a lot of land in this continent. But for Madagascar, it's just a small piece of land. So the tropical cyclone can just get into the land and slow down a bit and continue moving with that friction, slow down a bit again and continue moving. But the moment it tastes the ocean once again, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger again. Do you guys understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. You can even see the symbols that I use to represent these guys. These red lines, do you see the red lines? Let me just zoom in one more time. Do you see that the tropical cyclone, it was orange at first, meaning that it wasn't that strong. And this red, it means that it was now strong. Okay. When it enters into the land, it's now turning to black. It is now weak. It's now weak and weak. And when it gets out, it's orange again. It's getting strong again. And when it's now inside the ocean, it's now red. Shows that it's regaining its strength because it's now back to the ocean. Yes, Yangoba.
I want to ask you, why the tropical cyclone passes? Okay, I know what I might repeat Trevor's question. I'm confused with why does it passes the land, but when it gets to the land, it gets to be weak. Why doesn't go down and ikeke le land le Madagascar then iphinde ikhuphuke ile warm whatsoever?
Okay, why doesn't it go? Well, that's why I said the path is erratic, right? So the path is not really definite. So Osiangoba would have the tropical cyclone move like like igodle nje and not get inside the Madagascar. Okay. Yeah, it's reasonable with the way that I've explained it. Indeed, it's reasonable for you to assume that. But guys, these are concepts and these are theories that we create based on what we observe. But this is the actual path of the tropical cyclone itself. Okay. So we do observe indeed that when the tropical cyclone gets into the land, it becomes weak, but it somehow is able to cross inside the land. Maybe there are other factors that are causing it not to get inside the land. Okay, yeah. So as much as, guys, remember, guys, this geography and concepts is all theory, right? But when it comes to reality, there might be some of the things that are a bit different. Okay, but we definitely know that if it stays in the land for too long, or if it stays in a lot of land, it will decay. But it would make sense for Madagascar because it's a what? It's a small piece of land that it will be able to slow down slowly. But when it gets back, it gains strength again. And we also, the winds themselves, guys. Remember that the tropical cyclone doesn't move like a person who will say, now I want to move here, now I want to move here, now I want to move here. It is driven by the tropical easterlies, which are the winds that are driving it. So if the tropical easterlies are driving it in this way into Madagascar, it is forced to get into Madagascar, even though Madagascar is land. So to kind of get, guys, the other factors that can make your tropical cyclone to hit the land.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just theory, guys. It's theory and reality. But later on, we'll debunk, and you guys can do geography at high levels. Then you can try to see how this path is generated. Yes, Telmo?
Sir, I'm confused because I thought tropical cyclones, when they hit land, they disappeared like after hitting land.
So I was still explaining Telmo's question, right? Telmo was saying that why doesn't this disappear then in the instant it gets into the land? Okay, guys, before the tropical cyclone doesn't disappear the moment it gets into the land, like immediately when it gets into the land. Okay, that's not a realistic thing. Okay, but it slows down. Maybe it got into the land with 180 kilometers an hour. That was its speed, the wind speed, when it was entering the land. But it will start slowing down, and those wind speeds will decrease and decrease slowly. But as this tropical cyclone is slowing down, it still continues to move a bit with a lot of friction. Okay, it like continues to move with a lot of what? With a lot of friction. It's like maybe you are sliding. You guys know skating, right? Maybe you are skating on a smooth road. When you are skating on a smooth road, it is easy to skate. But when you go to a road that is rough, that has got a lot of friction, you will slow down until you stop. That's the same way a tropical cyclone decays. So the tropical cyclone gets into the land with a lot of speed because it's coming from a smooth ocean, an ocean with no friction. But when it gets into the land, it will start experiencing friction, but it will continue to move just a bit before it stops. But if it happens that when it is moving, it gets out of the land again, goes back into the ocean, it will regain the strength and will be able to move. Do you get that, Telma?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, guys. Just imagine skating. If you are on a skateboard and you are skating on a smooth road, you are skating on a skateboard on a smooth road, and then you get into a rough road, you start slowing down and moving slower. But if it happens that you get to another smooth road again after that, you will move faster again. So it doesn't really necessarily decay the instant it gets into the land. Let's hear from Siangova.
So I wanted to ask, you said tropical cyclone, they decay when they in ocean for a long time. Did you say that?
In the land for a long time.
Oh, in the land for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
Oh, so ukuthi la tukele Madagascar is a decay because it represents ukuthi Madagascar incane.
Yes, Madagascar is just an island. It's a small piece of land, so it won't take long inside Madagascar. Yes, it will experience a bit of friction and it will slow down, but eventually, as it continues moving in its path, it will get out of the land because Madagascar is just an island. But if it gets to South Africa or gets to Mozambique or any other coastal country, it will enter and when it enters it will decay because the land, there's a lot of land. If it continues moving on the land, it will end up slowing down until decaying. But because Madagascar is just a smaller piece of land, it's just able to override it or override that friction.
Okay, so sorry to go back. What did you say about the friction? You said about something friction.
Yes, the land, actually the land is the one causing friction. And guys, where were you in the last session? And when we say it, we say it, hey, you guys, I don't know where you put your ears when it's time to pay attention. We say it during the decaying stage, a tropical cyclone, when it's moving on land, it experiences friction. That is what causes it to slow down. I even highlighted the terms. I said that the tropical cyclone decays when moving on land. Why does it decay when it moves on land? Because number one, there is no warm moist air. That's the first thing. So there's no supply of moisture, okay, on land. And then the other reason, there is friction over the land, and this friction over the land, it will slow down the tropical cyclone until it decays. Didn't you guys hear that last time?
That's me.
Guys, do you know that there's a lot of work in geography and we are still stuck on the tropical cyclone because you guys are not studying? It's not like I didn't give you the information. I gave you the information, I explained it, but you didn't study because you're asking something that was written exactly as it is. But nonetheless, let's continue. This is a part of a tropical cyclone, guys. So you should just know that this is how it looks, and yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then the other information about the tropical cyclone that you guys should know is that the season, it attacks during late summer and early autumn. So you can say late summer and early autumn. So whenever you explain the season, it's summer generally, but if it becomes specific, it's late summer when the summer is about to end. Okay, then the satellite image of a tropical cyclone, you need to also be able to recognize that this tropical cyclone is in a mature stage using the satellite image. Okay, you must be able to see the eye of the tropical cyclone, and you must also see the clouds that are rotating in a clockwise direction. Let's just zoom in. For example, this is our satellite image of tropical Gezani as it was shoving over the parts of Mozambique and KZN. Okay, so you see that this is the clouds. These clouds here that are like swelling, this is the tropical cyclone itself. Because the tropical cyclone, guys, is just it's just a bunch of clouds that have been formed because there is a lot of warm, moist, rising air. These clouds, you can see that their shape is kind of like they are swelling in a clockwise direction. Do you guys kind of see their shape? The clouds, they are kind of rotating in a clockwise direction. Do you guys kind of see that or not?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so basically the clouds swell we use the term swell. So clouds do not rotate, they swell. So the swell of the clouds is in a clockwise rotation, okay? Because it's a low pressure system, guys. Remember that a tropical cyclone is an example of a low pressure cell. It comes from a low pressure cell. So basically we know that the rotation of air in a low pressure cell, it is a clockwise rotation of air. So this clockwise rotation of air will eventually cause the clouds to be clockwise as well, to swell in a clockwise direction. Because remember, guys, that these clouds are being formed when this warm moist air condenses. So these clouds are being formed when this warm moist air condenses. So if the air is rotating in a clockwise direction, then the clouds are also going to form in a clockwise rotation, in a clockwise swell. Do you guys kind of get that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What about the eye? Can you guys see the eye?
Yes, sir.
Yes, here's the eye. This region, do you see that is empty, guys? This is your eye, the eye of the tropical cyclone. Do you see that the region is empty?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the eye, we need to remember the conditions, guys. The fact that it is empty, it means that there are no clouds in it, or there are no clouds above the eye. So we need to know that here we have got clear condition within the eye. We've got clear conditions. We have got calm conditions, stable conditions. You guys must be able to explain, Wuti, Why do we have those conditions in the eye? Because you can see that the eye is just this middle portion, this smaller region that is showing that there are no clouds in it. So in the middle of a storm, we have that small place that has got what? That has got calm conditions. All right. So basically, in the middle of a storm, we've got that small space having calm conditions, and the region is known as the eye. You guys must know how to explain why the eye has got calm conditions and clear conditions. We did that last time again. Okay, and I asked you if you guys understood. I explained for 10 minutes and millions of minutes. So if you get this wrong in any exam, it's on you now. So the eye has got clear, calm, and cloudless conditions. There are no clouds in the eye. You need to be able to explain why is that. Are we together, guys?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So yeah, those are the basic information that I just wanted to add on this. Besides that, all that is left is practice activities. So because of our time, I think we're only going to do one practice activity. I'm going to take this one, KZN March 2025. Guys, please put more effort on tropical cyclone and mid-latitude cyclone because it's term one. Term one. Guys, mute your mics if you've got. Okay, so guys, this is term one. So the structure of the exam paper, most of the times it has got questions on mid-latitude cyclone and questions on tropical cyclones. Those are the most important questions. Like those are the long questions most of the times. That is why I'm spending more time on them, because I know with your term one paper it would have that structure, but your term two paper will be more dense as well. And it continues and continues and continues. So make sure that you guys know how to analyze a case study of a tropical cyclone, because all of the papers that are written in March for geography, they will always have a mid-latitude cyclone, they will always have a tropical cyclone in them. Are we clear on that?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's just read through this case study quickly so that you can just finish up. So the Mauritius, I think you guys can see from here. I'm not sure if you can see, or I need to zoom in, but I won't be able to highlight. So the Mauritius Meteorological Service has issued a class 1 out of 4 cyclone. So basically, we have got a meteorological service that has issued a class 1 cyclone. It's more like levels of a cyclone. In Mauritius, they're using classes. Okay, depends on the case study. So in this case, we have got 4 classes of a strength of a tropical cyclone, but this one is a class 1. Okay, they say this is a warning for Rodriguez Island. So this island known as Rodriguez is issued a warning of this class 1 cyclone. So the winds are expected to gradually increase. So we expect the winds to increase and the seas will become increasingly rough, okay, as the storm system approaches the island. So it means that there are storm surges, meaning that like the water from the sea, it is actually rising. Okay, it is actually rising and pouring out and rising and pouring out. Do you guys know what storm surges are? Or should I show you a picture? Let me just look for one. These are storm surges. These are known as storm surges. So basically the ocean water rises. It's more like the ocean is vomiting its water into the land. That's known as a storm surge. So a storm surge is caused by strong winds. When there are strong winds pulling the water and pushing it towards the land, this can cause flooding later on. So this is the warning that they are receiving in Mauritius, an alert of this stage 1 cyclone that will potentially bring such effects. Okay. Yes, Ngoba.
Shall we say it is not an example of an earthquake?
No, it's not an earthquake. Do you guys know what an earthquake is? Have you ever guys experienced an earthquake?
No.
No one here, no one has ever experienced an earthquake here. No one, literally no one. Yes, Trevor, have you ever experienced an earthquake?
No, sir, mina ngifuna ukubuza sir. So, sir, azongiqolela ngokuyibuza manje i-question le. Sir, mina ngifuna ukubuzisa nge-eye wall sir, cause mina ngi-understand kahle ukuthi masikhuluma nge-eye wall sikhuluma ngalamasayiti aphakathi kwe-tropical cyclone noma sikhuluma ngaphansi kwalamafu sir.
The eye wall is actually the clouds itself. Okay, we just call it a wall because we are seeing the clouds, but the eye wall, we are talking about the clouds themselves. All of this place that is surrounding the eye is known as the eye wall. The clouds, from the clouds until downwards, all of this place is the wall of the eye. It's more like it is surrounding the eye. So an eye wall simply means, yeah, we're just referring to the cumulonimbus clouds that are surrounding the eye. That's your eye wall. It's not really a wall, guys, like the wall that you will see in your house. Otherwise, we'll be having walls attacking us in a tropical cyclone. But this is just, you know, guys, you guys need to get used to thinking in a model way. We create models here, guys, to try and understand the concept. So similarly here, we model these clouds and we think of them as a wall so that we can kind of get an understanding that they are surrounding the eye. Otherwise, it's not literally a wall. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's not literally a wall. It is just our way of modeling things. You guys should get used to using terms that describe something. All right. So okay, let's continue. So let's just read the case study. So there is sustained heavy rainfall that could trigger flooding in the low-lying areas and those with easily overwhelmed drainage systems. The localized evacuations, flash flooding, and landslides. So there are localized evacuations, there's flash flooding, there's also landslides, utility disruption, rendering some bridges or roadways impassable, flight disruptions at regional airports, and temporary closures of ports are also possible. There's also stagnant pools of water during and after the flooding, increase insect and waterborne diseases. Also, there's an increase in the insect and the waterborne diseases such as dengue fever, cholera, and malaria. There's also raw sewage and other hazardous materials that are being mixed with flood waters that pose a serious health threat. So all of these are effects coming from this tropical cyclone. And then now you are given a table, because this is more like an infographic. Okay, this table, it shows you the dates and it also shows you the wind speed. Okay, so look at this, guys. Our tropical cyclone, the first date that we're provided with at this table, it is the date which is 16 November, 16/11, 16 November. The wind speed is between the range of 110 and 185 kilometers an hour. And then on the 17th of November, the next day, the wind speeds are between 185 and 240 kilometers an hour. And then on the 18th, the wind speed are at 110 to 185 kilometers an hour. And then on the 19th, the wind speeds are less than 100 kilometers an hour. Even if you're doing math lit, you know that this sign means less than Anish. So the wind speeds are less than 100 kilometers an hour on the 19th. So do you guys kind of see the information that you are given? So please tell me what's happening with the wind speeds actually. Tell me, Sango, what's happening with the wind speed? Because at first it seems like they're increasing. What's actually happening with the wind speeds according to what you observe?
So they are increasing.
Or are they like increasing, continuously increasing and increasing and increasing?
No, they are increasing and decreasing. I think the time they increase, the time they increase and the time they decrease again, they were inland, yeah.
Okay, let's see Paul.
I said similar. I just wanted to say that what it is. The wind speed it increases and reaches what it is. You peak at the 17th and then it and then after the 17th it starts decreasing.
Okay, awesome. Yes, Trevor.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So is it possible for a tropical cyclone to attack a same place twice or more in a year?
Well, not twice. It can never happen twice. We can only have one summer in a year. A tropical cyclone can only attack in the late summer. At least in our southern hemisphere, that's how things are.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just observe first, guys, before we can let's just observe and analyze. First, the wind speed was between 110 and 185 kilometers an hour. This is on the 16th of November, guys. You look at your map showing the path of this tropical cyclone. Where can you guys see the 16th here from this map? Can you say it? The 16th. It's not visible, right? So it's probably here. Maybe your tropical cyclone probably started here, okay, because it's not shown. But we definitely know the wind speed was between 110 and 185 kilometers an hour. And this is the path continues. Now this is the 17th of November at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then you can even see there's even time there. And then this is the 17th November at 4 o'clock. If you see carefully here on this, is 17 November 16 o'clock UTC, so that's like 4 o'clock. All right, and then when it reaches here, this is the 18th of November 6 o'clock in the morning. So 18th of November 6 o'clock in the morning. It continues again 18th of November 6 o'clock in the evening. It continues 19th of November 6 o'clock in the morning. They continue monitoring it, and then on the 19th 6 o'clock in the evening, continues and continues and continues. It goes on the 20th 6 o'clock in the evening. Actually, this you can see, guys, this is the Indian Ocean, right?
Yes, sir.
And then here is the land, guys. Here is the island. Let me just demarcate it for you because the diagram is not clear. So this is the Mauritius Island, the Port Louis and the Rodriguez Island that they're talking about. So it enters into the land. Okay, it enters into the land, and then let's see, is the land here? Where is the land, guys? Port Louis, Sunstance. Hey, their diagram is not clearly visible. Their diagram is not really good. The land is here, guys. The land is here. Hey, the diagram is not really a cool one because it cannot be seen easily. This is the land. Hi. Hey guys, this diagram, I don't know if I can get a color version of this diagram, but we need to figure out where the land is because we cannot really continue the analysis if we don't know where the land is. But here I can definitely see it's written Mauritius and Port Louis, so it's something that I suspect to be the land. Okay, but it's fine. Let us just try to proceed and answer the questions because you guys already know what happens, what causes these wind speeds to decrease. You already know when a tropical cyclone enters the land, it will start having friction and it starts slowing down. Because at first it had 110 kilometers from 110 to 185. Then secondly, it's 185 to 240 on the 17th of November. So it has increased the wind speed. Then on the 18th, it now decreases back to 110. On the 19th, it's now less than 110. So it shows that it is slowing down. So let's just do a quick answer. Let's just answer the questions there. Now, the question: what is the general direction of movement of tropical cyclones? What is the general direction of movement of tropical cyclones? Yes, Bandisile?
Eastwards.
Really? Eastwards, guys. Tropical cyclones.
No, sir.
What is their general direction of movement?
Isn't it
From east
westward?
to west.
Yes.
Westwards.
It's westwards, yes, it's westwards, or you can say from east to west. So you can say towards the west, or you can say from east to west. That's the general direction of movement. And then 1.2.2, state the two conditions that are necessary for the formation of a tropical cyclone. Just two conditions. Let's hear a Trevor.
Latent heat, sir.
We need latent heat. Yes, that's a condition. Just stating it. They didn't say explain it. Because you look at the mark allocation again, guys, this is 2 points for 1 mark each. So you're just stating. Okay. What is the other condition needed for the formation of a tropical cyclone?
High moisture.
Yes, we need warm, moist air. We need warm, moist air. We know that this warm, moist air, it is the one that will rise and condense, creating the latent heat. What else? Trev?
Warm ocean, sir.
Yes, we need a warm ocean. We need a warm ocean. Be specific on the temperature a bit. The warm ocean must be at least 28 degrees Celsius and above. Depending on the textbook that you use, of course, there's a certain range that they will mark. Okay, some textbooks will say 29. It's fine. Bandisile.
I wanted to say high weather condition.
What?
But high weather condition.
Just high. What is high in the weather condition?
It's 27 degrees Celsius and above.
Oh yeah, that's a warm ocean. Rather say high temperature ocean or a warm ocean. Yes, Paul.
So I would say there must be no Coriolis force.
There must be Coriolis force. How? No, then you're doing the opposite. Coriolis force must be present for a tropical cyclone.
Oh, my bad.
Yes.
There must be Coriolis force. So the area of formation is 5 degrees to 8 degrees north and south.
Yes, that shows what the Coriolis force is present. But if you go out of that range and you go between 5 degrees north and 5 degrees south, there will be a weak Coriolis force resulting in no formation. Yes, Yangoba?
Sir, I don't want to answer. Just I want to tell you, Guti, where does the lens start in the diagram?
Okay, where does it start?
I think it started here at 18. You see, lama mid latitude, lama tropical
cyclone, yeah.
Lama round.
Yes.
Yeah, lama round. Yeah, bona la Guti, it shows Guti are heavy, are white. Then lapa masistala corner Guti, lapa 18. It comes a low white to say so semani. So tala kuba black. Yeah, and nangala the diagram ngala iyasho ukuthi it started to 110 to 180 kilometers. Iyasho ukuthi se decrease. Yeah,
okay.
Understand? And when I 1.2.3, but again the reason why the tropical cyclone from 18 November.
Okay.
Weekend from 18 November.
Alright, awesome guys. Let's go for the last 10 minutes break and we'll come back and try to finish up. I need to go to the physics session now. 10 minutes break, we'll come back. Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Edu-ca-te is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes. Siangoba has already identified our land. Do you guys see the land here? I've highlighted it for you. Do you see the land?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. It's just that the image that they use in this particular question is kind of not really nice. It's not really nice, yeah. But we'll just continue, guys. We'll just continue and finish up. But it's just a small island. It's just a small island, and yeah, this port of flows and everything is part of the island. Okay, so we're still we mentioned the conditions that are necessary for the formation of the tropical cyclone. That's cool. You can take any two from there, guys. We're just stating them. You're not explaining too many things. Now, give one reason why tropical cyclone Peggy weakened from 18 November. So give one reason why the tropical cyclone Peggy weakened from the 18th of November, because 18th of November you can see that the wind speed dropped to 110 kilometers an hour from 240. So let's hear from Paul.
So it weakened due to reaching the land.
Yes, okay, so basically it experienced friction. So we say that the tropical cyclone Peggy entered the land. So the tropical cyclone Peggy entered the island, or you can say entered the land. And obviously when it enters the land, it experienced friction, okay? Causing, I don't know if the English is correct here, if you guys know how to write proper English. It entered the land, causing friction, okay? Causing it to experience friction. Or you can say it caused it to experience friction from the land. Okay, usually the land is the one that slows it down due to this friction. Okay, so this friction slows it down. Okay, we just wanted a 1 mark there, 1 point for 1 mark, simple one. Okay, let's see 1.2.4. Discuss the social and the environmental impacts associated with the tropical cyclone Peggy. So we want the social and we also want the environmental impacts, and we've been also given, guys, from the case study. You just need to go to your case study, you look at them and you give them. Let's hear Sam. Let's start with the social ones, the social impacts. Let's start with the social impacts. Yes.
Okay, social is the damage to infrastructure, displacement of community, loss of lives, and disruption of services.
Okay, let's start here, guys. When we say social, what are we talking about? Are you guys aware what social means?
Yes, sir.
What does it mean? Sam says he knows. So tell us, Sam, when you say that social impacts, what is it related to?
Like into is affected thina abantu noma into esizisebenzisayo, sir.
Yes, something that affects humans or the society. The word social comes from society, or it comes from humans, the union of human beings. So basically, when I talk about the social impacts here, we are looking at the impacts felt by humans or something that has affected us as humans. Okay. What about environmental? What are we talking about when we say environmental impact?
Well, so when we talk about environmental, we talk about the natural things like plants,
Yes.
soil, like natural infrastructure, so yes.
Exactly, we're talking about the natural environment. Okay, so basically now let us now answer now the social impacts. We want to see what actually we want to discuss basically what actually affected us as people. You started with what, Sam? Let's hear.
Damage to infrastructure, sir.
Okay, did it affect us? You need to link it back to us. How did it affect us as humans, the damage in the infrastructure?
Well, sir, into my ngizoexplain kanjani, but lapha on article, sir, ithi I don't know ngibe kanjani, but let me try my best.
Okay, just quote it from the article exactly as it is. I wanna hear.
Flood, the system, localized fresh lane lessons possible, trigger located business and
Okay,
transport. And
okay. As you are still reading, let's hear from Esianqoba.
Say, am I wrong if I'm going to say it will cause waterborne diseases?
Okay, don't say it will as if it's still going to happen. It's something that has already happened. This is 2025 March paper,
Cause
so it's probably before.
it causes waterborne diseases.
Yes, so basically the floods actually resulted, okay? So the floods resulted, according to this instance, we've already been told that here there was flooding, okay? They say that stagnant pools of water during and after flooding increase insect and waterborne diseases. Okay, so these are the effects already. So we can say that the flooding, actually we are discussing, so when we are discussing, we need to give the cause and the effect. So the flooding, okay, we had flooding here that resulted, flooding, we can say flooding resulted in the spread, okay, in waterborne diseases, or you can say in the spread of waterborne diseases. You can also give examples in the spread of waterborne diseases. Okay, so it does affect us as humans because we get ill. Guys, this is a 2 marks question. Remember, there's a two, it's like when they say 2 by 2, remember this is like 2 points for 2 marks each. So each and every point must be worth 2 marks. And I told you guys how to answer for 2 marks. You give the cause and you give the effect. So you give the what? The cause, and you give the effect or the result. So for example here, our cause here is flooding. Okay, so flooding is the thing that happened, and what did that flood result in? It resulted in the spread of waterborne diseases. That will give you 2 marks. Don't just write there was a spread of waterborne disease. That's more like the result or the effect, but what caused it is what's important as well, because you are discussing. That's why it is worth 2 marks per point. Okay, let's hear from the next person, which is Mpo.
Okay.
Yes.
What is this? The flooding may lead to to droughts, which would lead to less reduced sanitation.
Okay, but remember we need to be specific, because they say here these ones are associated. These are the problems, the social and the environmental impacts associated with tropical cyclone Peggy. So the only piece of information about tropical cyclone Peggy is the one provided in the passage. So you must try to take the ones from the passage. Don't just generalize it and say every cyclone has this, every cyclone has this. Try your best to look for them from the infographic provided, because this is based on what tropical cyclone Peggy did to us as human beings. So retry again. Let's see from Sam.
so that points out, that says disruption of transport services, sir.
Yes, guys, the disruption of transport and business services. I think I saw it somewhere here. Where is it? Yeah, but it is here. The incitement weather could trigger localized businesses, meaning that basically this weather, this high weather, such as strong winds, is actually triggering localized business, like local businesses, such as the transport as well. Transport cannot move, it's kind of disrupted, and also there are utility disruptions, rendering some bridges or roadways and etc. So it's something that we've been told there's actually a disruption of business and transport as well as utility. By what you give the cause. So you quote the effect here. The effect, they say that there is a disruption. They've told us, according to the passage, that there was a disruption of transport. Okay, what did they start with? Oh, disruption of localized business. Okay, we start with anything. Disruption of the transport, disruption of localized business, and what? And the disruption of utility. Utility, what did they say? Utility. Oh yeah, utility disruption. So there was a disruption of transport, the localized business, and utility. And now, what actually caused it? Because guys, this is not full. Remember, this is like 2 points for 2 marks. So when you give a point, you should give the cause and you should give the effect. Here, what we have is that we have an effect because we are seeing the result, which is the disruption of transport. So basically, our transport is being disturbed. Okay, our local businesses are also being disturbed by this cyclone. But the question is, what is actually causing it? Like, what in the cyclone is disrupting our transport system in this case? Because if it's like this, it's not complete. 2 marks means that you give a cause and an effect. Okay, what has caused this disruption? What has disrupted transport and localized businesses and utility? What can possibly do that actually? What can cause the business not to function, guys? Let's say you have got a tuck shop and then a tropical cyclone comes and now it's disrupted. Let's say you want to move using your car in the road, but now you cannot move your car. What is causing that to happen? Well, what in the tropical cyclone is causing that to happen?
Floods.
Yes, floods can cause that. Strong winds can cause that. You need to give the cause, guys. Any cause, because you guys already know that tropical cyclones are associated with heavy rainfall. Heavy rainfall can actually disrupt businesses. They can disrupt everything else. Okay, so basically, you need to say what causes this. This is caused. You can just give one cause, of course, caused by flooding. That's how you get correct this 2 marks question, because the 2 marks question simply means that you give the what? You give the cause, then you give the effect. The cause here is flooding from this tropical cyclone, and then the effect, the flooding disrupted the transport. That's the effect. So whenever you discuss something, whenever you explain something, whenever you see 2 marks per point, you give the cause and the effect. What else? What else is
So I just wanted to ask, Gutsi, if we didn't have a case study, then we have just a picture, an illustrated picture. Then this question of 1.2.4 comes to say describe the social and environmental impacts associated with the of the tropical cyclone peak. So are we going to name the social impacts? Are we going to name the social impacts that we are naming now? These social impacts are vele ema-tropical cyclone kuthi vele akhona not kuthi bakunikete la.
Okay, okay, for this one, guys, they gave you already. You need to use them. That is why when they ask the question, they say the social and the environmental impacts associated with the tropical cyclone big. But if they didn't give you this case study, the way that they would ask this question, they would just say discuss the social and environmental impacts associated with a tropical cyclone, just in a general way. That's when you can bring any other impacts that you can think of. But for this one, they say it associated with Peggy, and they've already given you information because the statement says read the infographic below based on tropical cyclone Peggy. So everything is about Peggy. You have already been given information on what tropical cyclone Peggy did to Mauritius people. Are we clear on that?
In general,
yes.
So in general, seeing our name alama social impacts lawangan.
Yes, obvious, guys. Yes, you can always name this because obvious when there are floods, obvious transports roads are disrupted. So there are an infinite amount of answers here. In general, very tropical cyclones, they cause storm surges cause flooding. All of those are points. Okay. It's fine. You can continue mentioning others later on, but let's go to 1.2.5. Oh, the environmental ones, guys. These were just social impacts alone. What are the environmental impacts that we can have that are associated with this? According to the passage. Yes, Paul.
What does the tropical cyclone lead to landslides?
Yes, there were landslides. And these landslides, where are they coming from? What causes landslides? What causes the land to slide?
The landslides could be caused by the flooding or the
Yes.
what is it, sedge storming.
You can take one of them. You can say storm surges, or you can say, oh, but it's the flooding that actually causes landslides. You guys learned of landslides in grade 11, right? Simply means that the land is sliding because of water, usually. So here in this case, the landslides have been caused by flooding. But this is a 2 marks question. You must give a cause and an effect. So these are landslides that have been caused, or you can say due to flooding, because we've been told in the passage that there are localized evacuations, flash flooding, and landslides which are possible. Okay, let's hear again from who's raising, Sam?
I was going to say, it's very environmental. I was going to say soil erosion and damage to ecosystems.
Okay, yes, we did have a disruption of ecosystems at some point. I think I saw that point somewhere. Where was it? Raw sewage and other water. Here it is, poses a serious health threat. Yeah. They can also be ecosystem disruptions as well, because remember guys here that we're having some raw sewage. Guys, do you know sewage? You know sewage, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so if raw sewage here, as they say, raw sewage and other hazardous materials have been now mixed with the flood waters. So the flooding is the main thing here. It has flooded all the sewage, and this is posing a serious health threat, not only to us as humans, guys, also to the species in the ecosystem. So you can talk about the disruption of the ecosystems. Okay, so ecosystems have been disrupted by what? By this flooding. You can just say by flooding, or you can say they've been disrupted by the flooding of raw sewage. So you can talk about ecosystems. So here, the result is here, our ecosystems have been disrupted. Ecosystems have been disrupted due to the flooding of the raw sewage, because we've been told that there's flooding of raw sewage due to flooding of raw sewage, because they say that this raw sewage, it was mixed with the flood waters. So you give the cause and you give the effect. So you can continue guys forever and forever. There are many other impacts that you can talk about here. Okay, you can talk about many things, but before you start with flooding, even the flooding point, you can explain it as well, to say what actually caused the flooding. First of all, we've been told that yes, sustained heavy rainfall could trigger flooding, because here we've already mentioned all the effects of flooding, but flooding itself is an effect to the environment. So you can mention that here we have got sustained heavy rainfall that has led to flooding. Sustained heavy rainfall that has led, that triggered, okay, according to the statement, is they say is that triggered flooding. So basically you first explain that here we had sustained. Basically, if you want to write this in a proper way, start by explaining this point first, this flooding, which before we have this flooding, basically it has been caused by this sustained heavy rainfall. So sustained heavy rainfall has resulted in flooding, or it has triggered flooding. Now these landslides have been triggered, they have also been caused by the flooding. Now ecosystems have been disrupted due to the flooding of this raw sewage. Everything is about flooding for this statement most of the time. So there are many other things, guys, that you can talk about here based on the extract. So it's fine, guys, let's not call for today, because I'm actually supposed to have a session in the next 5 minutes, but I have to postpone it to be 5 minutes later, because some of you guys will be joining that session with physics. So we need to close. 1.2.5, you guys will suggest 2 strategies that the local government could implement to minimize the impact of tropical cyclone Bheki. What can the government do? You guys will tell that. Yes, Sam?
Well, sir, they should improve early warning systems and evacuation.
Yes, that's one of the things. But you guys will write that, will write all points that you think are valid. You write them and you send them in the groups, basically. So there are many things that the local government can do so that they can do it, so that they can reduce or minimize the impact of these tropical cyclones. But nonetheless, guys, my Zoom is already telling me that I've got another meeting in the next 5 minutes. So let's just close off for today because I have to rush to another session. When we come back, guys, we need to do high pressure systems. We are already far behind now. We need to do the high pressure systems. Yes, Yangoba, what are you saying?
Say, Gambe, which tropical cyclone you are experiencing, Lapo KZN?
Right now is tropical cyclone Gezani. It's not really reaching KZN per se, but the effects of it we can feel the effects.
Yeah, we are also experiencing the effect. Like in Pumalanga, I can feel it because outside there's heavy wind speed. You know.
Yes, actually, in Mpumalanga is all to experience it more than a. Okay, but not really. Which side of Mpumalanga are you? Are you in Nelspruit?
Yes, Nelspruit.
Oh yeah, that is why Nelspruit is just close to Swaziland. It's more like you're almost coastal as well. That is why you're experiencing the effect. Tina, we're a bit further, but the northern part of KZN, such as places like KwaMhlabuyalingana district, those are actually experiencing the most of the weather conditions. Yeah, so guys, let's close today's session with a prayer, quick prayer, guys, so that those who are going away will be able to sleep. Who's gonna pray for us? Sengoba wants to pray for us. Okay, good recommendation.
Yeah. Okay, see, I will pray in my mother tongue.
Yes, please.
uNkulunkulu Baba amandla wonke usiqinise umanise nentando nomhlaba information siyigcine siyikhumbule ingaphumi kithi ngenxa yemimoya lemibi ususe imimoya lemibi edudane kwethu Jehova masefuna sifunze